Hello everybody and welcome to Recruiting on Google+. This is the first of a series of webinars about social media specifically for recruiters. If you would like to, you can sign up for future live versions of the webinar, and also there's going to be a lot of others that you can download on the blog as well. So I would suggest that you have a pen and paper out while you are watching this webinar. There are some notes posted on the blog. However, you probably will absorb everything better if you are interacting with the information you're learning and writing it down. So my name is Michael Smith, and I am going to be your host, presenter today. So first of all, who am I? Well, that's a picture of me. That's what I look like, and of course that's my name. I came to social media in sort of a roundabout route. When I was 19, I became very sick. I was diagnosed with a debilitating medical condition, and for the next 3 years I was stuck in bed. And I got bored very, very quickly, and I don't do well with boredom, so it didn't take very long for me to realize that the phone that I was playing with in bed all day could possibly be a portal to the one part of the world that at that point in time I could connect with. So it was that brought me to social media and to social media marketing. Obviously, I knew about social media before, but I'd never thought of it as anything more than a means to an end. And now I realize that with how my life was going, if I was going to be stuck in bed, I can use social media to make a living and to have some sort of purpose in my life. 3 years later, I found a new medication. I was able to get up out of bed and move around. A couple years after that, I have 2 beautiful baby boys, and I was ready to enter the workforce. And now I work for a company called Hire Me Live. Hire Me Live was very generous in hiring me because I obviously hadn't worked for 5 years. So I had not a very full resume, but I did have 5 years of intensive self-led education into social media. And they were kind enough to take me on, and luckily it's worked out well for everybody. Sorry. Hire Me Live is a platform that has a number of really incredible recruiting tools for recruiters. I'm going to talk a little bit more about them later. I'm not going to plug them right now, but essentially they're a online video resume and video interviewing platform, and they have a lot of really incredible tools. So I'm going to answer 4 questions for you today about Google+. The first one is, what is Google+? If you've never been on it, or if you've just heard about it, this is going to be just a quick primer. If you are already familiar with Google+, it might be just a little bit of a refresher, but it's not going to be very long, so don't worry about it. The next one is, are my target candidates using Google+? Because, of course, if they're not on there, there's not really any reason for you to be. Next is it worth my time? For me, it's worth your time if you are getting a really good return on interactions. You're finding candidates, both passive and active candidates, which Google Plus is really, really good for. And then finally, how do I reach those candidates? So tonight we're going to talk about, today, whenever you're watching this, we're going to talk about how you can use the Google Plus system to find the candidates that you're looking for. So our first question, what is Google Plus? Well, it's kind of impossible to use the internet nowadays without using a Google product, so I'm pretty sure you're already familiar with Google, but let's go over some of the products that they offer. They have, of course, their most famous Google Search. Then there's Google Drive, which is an online document hosting product. There is Gmail, YouTube. This is the online web album Picasso. Google Maps, which is like your own personal GPS if you happen to own a smartphone. Hangouts, which was sort of like Google's answer to Skype, and finally Google Chrome, which is of course Google's browser. Now, Google Plus is a couple of things, but first and foremost, it's all of these things combined, and they're combined really beautifully, and really it's bigger and better than any of them separately. Google Plus, of course, is also a social network. When it first started, I think a lot of people were expecting it to sort of be a rival to Facebook, and that hasn't been the case. But not because it's not as good as Facebook, more because it has a very different function, and it's very good at what it does. Another thing that I absolutely love about Google Plus is that it has amazing mobile interfacing. It's so easy to use and intuitive, and I really appreciate it. And obviously it has all the products that we've already talked about. but there are other products that you can reach and integrate on their apps like Google Calendars and Blogger, which as a blogger who uses Blogger, I find that very, very valuable. So our next question is, are my target candidates using Google+? You may, if you've read about Google+, have heard of it referred to as a wasteland or a ghost town. The media really likes to talk about how there's nobody using Google+, but in fact there are over 540 million active users every month on Google+. That's not nothing. Obviously, it is less than Facebook's, I think, 1.31 billion right now. Obviously, it's less than that, but it's by no means nothing. In fact, Google Plus has a larger population than the countries of Brazil, Jamaica, Singapore, New Zealand, United Arab Emirates, Greece, Zimbabwe, and Yemen combined. That is a lot of people. That is a large pool to draw from. Let's go over some demographics. Currently, 28% of millennials are using Google Plus at least once a month, and 23% of Generation Xers are using it at least once a month. So if you're looking to hire anyone between the ages of 18 and mid to late 30s, Google Plus is a really, really good place to be. Of course, if you're looking for an older demographic, there are actually a lot of possible candidates that will fall into that demographic as well. 19% of the young baby boomers are using Google Plus, and 16% of the older baby boomers. So there's really a wide range. And it's not just people. Companies are really recognizing the value of Google Plus. Currently, 94% of the top 50 U.S. law firms have company pages on Google Plus. That is a considerable amount. That's a lot of people who feel that Google Plus is worth it. The next demographic I find really interesting. 62% of Google Plus users are male. This is really uncommon in the world of social media. Most social media networks are overwhelmingly female. And the reason that I think that Google Plus has a large male population is because right now it's being used largely for business. I think especially the financial and technical areas of business, which are fairly male-dominated fields. This doesn't mean that if you are recruiting in a female-dominated field, you shouldn't be on Google+. Obviously, there are still a lot of women using Google+, and hopefully there will be more in the future. But right now, I think that that's the reason why there are so many men on this social media network in particular. And finally, Google Plus is growing. It's grown by 57% per annum. And before that, I believe it was 33%. I don't know for sure, so don't quote me on that one, but I think it was about 33%. The next question we asked is it worth my time? Yes. Yes is the short answer. Let's go to the long answer. It's worth your time because Google Plus has a lot of really great features that no other social media network has. And all of these, they're unique and they're really, really helpful, especially to people who are using Google Plus for business. I'm just going to go over this list quickly, and then we'll discuss each aspect a little bit more in detail. So first of all, we have links, then search results, the +1 button, integrated services and social connectivity, which go together really well, communities, and Google search. Search results and Google search are two different things. So let's start with links. On a lot of social media networks, your profile area, if you have a lot of information or a lot of links, can look really, really messy. They're not the most beautifully designed profiles that there are. However, Google has always been really, really good about creating an attractive page to look at, and Google Plus is no exception. They have a really clean, really beautifully designed profile page with cells that have little bits of information in each cell, and there's a link section where you can just pour in as many links as you want, and it's still going to look really, really attractive. And that's very valuable because you can send active candidates who are looking at your profile to a number of different places and point them at any content that you want them to see. And passive candidates who you have invited to come look at your profile or you've contacted and now they're checking you out can also be links to your company page, your job descriptions, anything else, and it just doesn't look messy. It's easy to see, it's easy to find, and nobody's going to miss it. It's really nice. So the next part, we're going to talk a little bit more in a little bit about building a really good profile for active candidates who are looking for you. But right now we're going to talk about all of the advantages first. So The next part is the search results. Larry Page, who is one of the co-founders and is the current CEO of Google, said it best when he said, "If you ignore Google Plus, Google will ignore you." So whether or not you have really great SEO in your LinkedIn profile or you have a really active Facebook account, it's still a really, really good idea to be on Google Plus as well, because it's going to boost your ranking when somebody does a search for a recruiter in your field. And that is extremely valuable for finding and being in front of active candidates. One of the main reasons for that is because the top 4 links that come up in a search results page are going to get more than 80% of the clicks. And the rest of the clicks, the other like 17%, are going to be spread out between the thousands of links that come after that. So you definitely want to be as high up on that Google search results page as you possibly can, and having a Google Plus account is going to help you get there. Next is the plus one button. The plus one button obviously isn't entirely unique to the Google Plus network. There are Facebook likes and Tumblr shares, which are sort of similar, but Google Plus is a little bit more direct. If you hit the plus one button, every plus one that it gets is a share, but it's also going to boost it up in Google's ranking, which is, like we said before, extremely valuable. So having that, if you're writing good content, if you're posting good videos, anything like that, that people are plus oneing, that they're hitting the plus button for, then you are definitely going to be boosting yourself up even more in the search results. The next thing that I wanted to talk about are the integrated services and social connectivity, and it's kind of hard to talk about these separately. So we are not going to. We're going to talk about them together. So the first thing that is really great about the social connectivity aspect is that you can import all of your contacts from LinkedIn, from Facebook, from any other social network into Google+. And once you do that, then your contacts are going to come up, you can add them all, and then Google is going to understand what industry you're working in, what kind of people you want to be contacted with, and it's going to give you a big long list of recommendations, and you can check out all of those people to see if they're possible candidates for you. So that is really great. Now, let's start at the top here with integrated services. So we have the Gmail icon there, and the reason that's there is because if you have a Google Plus account and you want to talk to, say, a passive candidate that you want to approach who also has a Google Plus account, if you go on to his or her profile, you can click on the contact button. You can click to contact them and or use Hangouts, which is what that green icon is. And when you send them a message through their Google Plus profile, that message, instead of sitting on their Google Plus profile like a LinkedIn or a Facebook message would, goes directly to their Gmail account. So when they open their inbox, you are there right in front of them, and they haven't had to go to Google Plus. They haven't had to go to a network to find you. You're right in their email with everybody else who knows them and has their personal email. So that's a pretty amazing resource. That's pretty valuable. You don't have to be waiting forever for a candidate who doesn't get on their network and check it every day, because I'm sure they do check their email on a regular basis and they'll be able to find you there. Another really great thing about integrated services is the Google notifications part. The fact that Google has so many products that we use so ubiquitously really makes Google Plus a portal through which you can experience the internet. And when everything is connected, when YouTube and Gmail and Hangouts and everything is all connected together, then every comment that you make, every thing that you post on Google Plus, every time you comment on a YouTube video, all of those things are going to come up in your notifications, and any interaction with them is also going to come up in your notifications. So if you're watching a video, maybe it's a webinar about the industry you're in, and you mention something, you leave a comment about hiring, and then an active candidate sees that and responds to that comment when you open up your Google page in the morning or in the afternoon or whenever you're opening it up, there's going to be a notification up in the corner. You haven't had to go to YouTube to find that. Google's just being like, hey, I just wanted you to know somebody wants to contact you, and that person might be that perfect candidate, and you wouldn't have found them otherwise, unless you regularly check your YouTube account, which I think a lot of people don't unless they happen to be YouTubers. Now, the social connectivity has one other really fantastic facet, and that is that in those links under Google Plus because you can so easily and so beautifully connect all of your different social networks to Google. If you're looking at a candidate who you're interested in, whether they're active or passive, you can check out all of their social media networks. You can stalk them through their social media networks and learn a little bit more about them. Learn how they carry themselves, how they conduct themselves, what kind of image they put out. Is it professional? Is it not? Before you even contact them. That's a pretty great resource. And I'm just going to do a little plug here. This actually works. It fits in really beautifully with something that Hire Me Live provides, and that is when you recruit on Hire Me Live, people put their 90-second video resumes up, and you can scan through them all. And you can also request video resumes from people. So if you have found a candidate that you like, you've checked through their social media and that seems good, and you still want to hire them, then you can either find their video resume if they already have one, or request that they submit one. And you can watch a 90-second video resume after having gone through their social media networks. And now you know so much more about them in the maybe 15 minutes that it's taken to do all of this. And then you know whether or not you want to spend an hour or more on an interview. So that can really save you a lot of time, which is pretty amazing. That's one of the really great things that Hire Me Live does. All right, now we're going to talk about your Google Plus profile. Your Google Plus profile, more than anything, is going to be something that active candidates are going to be looking at. If they are looking for a recruiter and they want to let you know that they want a job, and that they're sure that whatever job that you're hiring for, they're going to be perfect for, your profile is the place they're going to go first. So the first and actually most important part of your profile is your profile picture. So obviously that's me again. This is the picture I use on my Google Plus profile. Be aware that it is cropped into a circle, so if you have your eye or something on the corner of the picture, it's probably going to be cropped out. Something to think about. I like black and white because it actually stands out now. Everybody else uses color, so I like that. But just a simple headshot, a bit of a smile, professional image, whatever kind of professional image you want to put out there, that's the kind of photo that you need to match to, obviously. Now there are a couple different information cells that you want to fill out, but there are three main ones, the three most important ones. The first one is the story. So here we have the tagline, the introduction, and the bragging rights. And I'm going to use LinkedIn as an example for you on how you can fill these out, because I'm sure most, if not everyone watching this, is going to have a LinkedIn account. If you don't, you should probably get one. The first part is the tagline. So the tagline is sort of like the headline that you have on LinkedIn. You would put your job title here. A lot of people on LinkedIn do um, a more unique title in their headline on LinkedIn, and on LinkedIn that's a really great strategy because it makes you stand out. On Google Plus, because it's so heavily connected with SEO and with search engine ranking, my suggestion for your tagline is that instead of just putting your job description, you put whatever is the keyword that your candidates are going to be looking for. So recruiter for this, whatever is the most important aspect of the job that you're looking for, whatever is the thing that people absolutely must have, and the thing that they're likely to describe themselves as having, you want that in your tagline so that people are more likely to find you from Google search. The next thing you have is the introduction, which is sort of like your summary on LinkedIn, but the summaries tend to be really long, which is good on LinkedIn. There's plenty of room for that there, and it's formatted for a longer summary. However, your Google Plus account is really not formatted for a long introduction. There's a lot of space for content, but having big chunky paragraphs is just going to look a little bit off, especially when people who are using Google Plus are used to those tiny little meta descriptions that you see under a Google Plus link. So you don't want it to be too long, but you do want it to be really keyword rich. When I say keyword rich, I don't mean a keyword every 2 words, but make sure that the keywords that you know your candidates are going to be looking for are in there. That's really important. The third bullet point here is bragging rights. This is just a place for you to brag, to strut a little bit. You can, of course, put in professional achievements like a promotion or a degree that you have. I actually think it would be better, though, to put in 1 or 2 little personal bragging rights. Maybe you ran a marathon. Maybe you have a child. Something like that. And the reason that, don't put your child's name though, of course, but you know what I mean. The reason that I suggest that is because it can be really intimidating for a candidate to approach a recruiter. And when you put something personal in bragging rights, it humanizes you a little bit and makes you a little bit more approachable for somebody who might be nervous to approach you otherwise. The next cell to fill out is the work cell. This one's pretty self-explanatory: occupation, skills, employment, but again, I would really focus on keywords. One way that you can find really good keywords is going to the communities on Google+, which we'll talk about, or the LinkedIn groups, or any kind of social media groups for the industry that you are hiring for, and read what they're talking about. Read what kind of words they use. When they're talking about jobs they want, what kind of words are they using? Those are the keywords that you want when you are going to be searching. There's a couple different really great websites rather, that will allow you to put in text and it'll pull out the most commonly used phrases. I'll add a description, or I'll add a link to that on the blog for you so that you can use that website to find your own keywords. It's a really, really good resource. Finally, we have links. So links I sort of described before, but there's actually a number of different aspects to links. There's the Google Plus vanity URL, and this is a really valuable vanity URL to have. If you don't have it, it's your URL for your Google Plus profile is just going to be Google Plus /numbers 55692, something like that. Just numbers that are fairly unintelligible. All you need to have a Google Plus profile is to have your account have been active for 30 days or more and have at least 10 people in your circles. Those things are easy to have, and if you have the Google Plus URL, then it'll say your name on the end of your URL. So for example, mine says Google Plus /Michael Smith. And if you are going to be giving people a link to visit your Google Plus URL, you definitely want it to be something that looks more like it belongs to a person. People who use the internet a lot, which is most people in the Western world at least, are sort of trained, sort of conditioned at this point to not look at links that are really long, that are hard to read. There's HTML all over the place, and laymen are not interested in it. They can't read it, and they just block it out. So if there's a link there that is hard to read, it's most likely their eyes are just going to pass right over it. So you definitely want a URL with your name on the end of it. Other profiles are links to all your other social media networks. Contributor 2 is really good if you produce any content, if you write a blog, if you have videos, if you have a company page, if you have videos about the company that you're recruiting for or that you work for or that's your company. All of those things you want to go into Contributor 2, and then of course your links that we talked about before. The other thing that you should do if you create content is tell Google Plus about your authorship. The way you do this is on your Google Plus profile. There's a little link, and you can go give them your email address that's connected to all of your content. And the reason why this is such a good idea is because that way when search results come up, your photo will be next to all of the search results that you have created. And that is extremely, extremely valuable. In a sea of text, of copy, and of content, if your smiling professional photo is next to something you've created, you're considerably more likely to get a click and a viewer and possibly an active candidate who's interested in talking to you. That is a really, really good thing to have. It just takes a couple minutes. It's really not that much work, and it's definitely worth it. The last thing I want to talk about, which I don't have a slide for, unfortunately, is Google Communities and Google Circles. Google Communities are probably the best place for you to find your passive candidates. So Google Communities are similar to LinkedIn groups, but there's fewer restrictions. They're much easier to use. You can post more things, and it's much easier to contact the people who are in the communities and to get to their Google Plus page, and then, like we said, to get right into their email. So if you go into the search section of Google Plus and you click on communities and type in whatever industry you're hiring for, along with along with where you live and where you're hiring for, sorry about that, then you're going to find communities potentially of people who live where you are hiring, but most importantly for people who have all of the skills that you are looking for. There's two ways that you can best search for people on Google. One is called the Boolean search, and one is called X-ray. I'm going to be doing a future webinar that really goes into detail about both of those. But right now, communities is really the best place for you to find your passive candidates. And once you've contacted them and your attempt to contact them has gone straight into their Gmail, hopefully they'll come and check out your page, your Google Plus profile, and get to all of your content and have a really easy time reaching you. The other really valuable thing that Google Plus has is called the circles. Nobody can see your circles. Nobody necessarily knows which circle they're in, but the circle function is really, really valuable for recruiters because you can create and organize your own individual talent pools. So if you're hiring for 5 different jobs, you can separate and organize your potential candidates into 5 circles. So there's no confusion. You know exactly who they are. You know exactly what you want them for. It's hard to keep that many people's names in mind. And this way, you don't have to. Google organizes them really, really well for you. Thank you so much for coming and watching this webinar. I hope that you found it helpful. There's going to be more live webinars. You can sign up for them on our blog. There's also going to be more recorded webinars. There'll be a recorded version of every live webinar that I do. Please feel free to email me or hit me up on Twitter, Google+, of course, Facebook, and on LinkedIn. Social Media for Recruiters has a group on LinkedIn that you are more than welcome to join. If you have any suggestions for future webinars, if you have any questions about the content you've seen here today, if you'd like me to go more into detail about anything and create an individual webinar about it, you can contact me on any of those networks and let me know about it, as well as leaving a comment on this blog. On the blog, there's also a set of notes outlining the highlights of this webinar. Obviously, there's not a lot of text on the webinar. I really don't like webinars that have a lot of text on them. So I did include a set of notes that you can look up yourself. On our blog, we also have a free ebook that you can download, and the ebook is about hiring on LinkedIn. Feel free to also check out the other articles. There's plenty of content on this blog and also content that I've written for Hire Me Live. My email address is michaelsmithhml@gmail.com. That HML obviously stands for Hire Me Live. If you are interested in a video recruiting platform, I definitely suggest that you check out the informational video that is on the sidebar. Hire Me Live, like I said, is a really, really great program. They're really streamlining and refining the way that you recruit. It will save you a lot of money and a lot of time. There are candidates up there who have 90-second videos already. And like I said, if they don't, you can always request 90-second videos for any job. You can also actually post videos describing the jobs that you want to hire for, which is pretty awesome. And you can host online interviews with up to 10 people at a time, of course with one as well if you want to. And in your inbox, you can actually rate and organize candidates for follow-up. Overall, it's a really, really valuable tool. There is information to sign up on the sidebar in the Hire Me Live section, and of course there's a sidebar that's just for Hire Me Live on the other side. I don't know which, left or right now. But please take a look. Really, really amazing information there. It's a really great tool. Thank you so much for watching this webinar, and I hope to see you at future ones. And yeah, I hope that you found it really, really helpful. Have a good one.